Well, a lot happens when that buzzer goes off, and there's about 5 to 10 minutes worth of prep work that goes into each one of these stages. Hi everyone, I'm the 4-gun guy, and I thought for this video we'd look at how we prep and shoot a stage in a PRS match. So we're going to cover things like prepping for the first stage or the next stage in the match. We're going to look at environments at the stage. What's the weather doing? What's the wind doing? How is that going to affect our shots? We're going to review the stage brief. So that's the briefing that they give you that says, here's where the target is, here's how you have to shoot it, what you have to shoot off of, etc. We're going to look at how we want to view the targets and any landmarks around them. So when we get behind the gun, we know where we should be at least aiming in a general direction to get to acquire that target quickly. We're going to look at setting up our scope and our bags. Which bags are we going to use? How are we going to use them? Are we going to use a bipod? How are we going to use that? Is our scope set, distance, parallax, focus, everything there? Then we're going to talk about how we are setting up just before the buzzer, and right when the buzzer goes off, how do we quickly acquire that target? Everything up to that point should have allowed us to quickly acquire that target. Then we're going to look at stage movement. So maybe we have multiple targets throughout the stage, or we have to move throughout the stage onto multiple platforms or obstacles, right? From rocks to a tire to a tank trap, something like that. We're also going to look at adjusting our dope, windage considerations as we either come in distance or go out in distance. We're going to look at after that last shot. So the last shot goes off, you're done with the stage, or the buzzer goes off. You didn't get the last shot, but hopefully not. We're done with that stage. Now what do? How do we safely get out of the firing area with our rifle and all of our equipment, get it off to the side, and then finally, how we're going to review our performance, right? What did we do good? What did we do not so good? How are we going to improve and take that on to the next stage? So if you're ready, let's get to it. We're arriving at the stage. We've got our gun. We're always facing downrange. The muzzle is always pointing downrange. I'm going to find a place that I can set the gun down. The bag, I've already selected the bag I'm probably going to use, so I'll set it right here on the back of the gun. I should still have my chamber flag in there, and I just got done shooting, so I don't, but let's say we do. There we go. Chamber flag is always in my gun. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take our environmental readings. So now I'm going to get my Kestrel, and if you saw my other video on the Kestrel or Strelok Pro or whatever, I'm going to take all my environmental readings. I'm going to write everything down about the targets. I'm going to ask the previous team, if they're still around, what they saw. How was the wind? How was it different down there than it is up here? I always ask, anyone shooting 6.5 Creedmoor, and if they say yes, what was your dope? Right? They'll tell you. They'll say, well, and I don't care about elevation because, as I said in my other video, that's already dialed into my Kestrel. So I have confidence that what it tells me from an elevation standpoint is the right elevation. So with that said, I'll ask them, what was the wind like? They'll say, I held 0.5 mil left, I held 7/10 left, whatever. And then that gives you an idea of when you're looking at your readings, right? You may have 5/10 at 850, but they said they held 7/10. So you might want to start at 7/10, right? So just get all that intel that you can. Okay, now we're at the third step, and the third step is I want to review the stage brief, right? So if I look at my stage brief, and we're going to review this one more time, I'm going to pause here and say, I can't tell you how many times we get to a stage and someone gets their name called, they grab their gun, and you know what they say? What am I shooting at? What am I shooting at now? I'm like, Didn't you read this? Because that's what this thing says. It says what you're supposed to shoot at. So please read the stage. I'm not trying to be a smart aleck here. It's just that so many times people don't read this thing. And it's really important because what I try to do is stand off to the side and help people understand this as they shoot so they don't make mistakes. Most people won't do that for you. So let's talk about this stage brief, and I'll put this up on the screen. Upon start signal, you will go prone and shoot 750, 850, and 950 yard plate rack, 2 MOA circle, that's the large circle, and the large corner square, so it's like the diamond, targets. Each engage the circle, then the square at each distance. Sounds simple, right? 750, 850, 950, we have a circle and a square at each one. We're going to shoot each one of those things. Okay, no big deal. Here's where you're going to get tripped up. Read this. 2 shots each at 750. So 2 on the circle, 2 on the square. 1 shot then at 850 on each. So when you go to 850, shoot 1 shot circle, 1 shot square. And this last match, this was a stage. What did I see? 2 shots at the 750 and 850. What happens? I don't care if you hit them both. You only get credit for 1. And now guess what? Now you only have 1 shot each at the 950 yard target, which here it says 2 shots each at 950 yards. So at 950, you're supposed to shoot 2 on the circle and 2 on the square. But if you screw up and shoot 2 at the 850, then you only have 2 shots at the 950 yard. So you just threw away two potential hits at 950 yards. Why? Because you didn't read the stage brief and you didn't understand it. So please read it, understand it, get behind binoculars, go from rack to rack to rack. I get it. 2, 1, 2, 2, 1, 2. Just have that going through your head there. Make sure you've got your environmentals down on your dope card, right? And rerun them. Re-verify them, and before you do any of that, take your rangefinder and verify the range. Now, at this match that we shoot every month, I know what these ranges are. These guys are always pretty much right. There was 2 matches ago, though, when over here they had, I think, something set as 470 yards, and it was actually 570 yards. So everyone was off. I got my rangefinder. The guys at the squad in front of us said, that range isn't right. And so I got my rangefinder, verified it was 570, and then we did pretty good on that one. So update your dope card, double check, and then we're going to move on to reviewing the targets and landmarks. Okay, I'm going to do a split screen here, because what we're talking about now is finding some landmarks, right? Now, this is what the 750 yard target looks like. It's just beyond a 650 yard plate rack. I know it's jittery a little bit, I'm sorry, right? So if we have to start at the 750, what am I looking for? What's my landmark out there? Well, those bushes right behind the 750 and the red 650 sign there, right? Because if I'm looking out apart from my phone here, just with the naked eye, it's the only red thing I see out there. So that should be something to immediately draw your eye to. If we go to the 850, which is right here, zoom in a little bit, okay? 850, we're going to swing to the right and up a little bit. So we know that once we're done with 750, swinging right and up, and then when we get to the 950, which is, I think I just passed it, which is right there, we know that we're again going to swing up, right and up. We want to make sure that our magnification on our scope is set well enough that we're not going to be searching all over for these targets, right? What you see on my phone here, this is too much magnification from a scope perspective. I'd probably be out to here, right? Because all you're needing to do is put that reticle on the target, right? At 950 yards, that thing isn't this big, and you're not aiming right here, 4.5 inches in and whatever, right? So make sure your magnification is out far enough that you can quickly find the target, and look for those landmarks. If it was something like closer in, like look at this. This is another great example here. Let me zoom out a little bit. If we were shooting out here, over here, and we tend to shoot target H. See target H right there, right? Well, how do I know where H is? I use this bush as my reference. So if I zoom way out, well, I can only zoom out to 1 here, but you can see that H is just to the right of that bush. And that bush, folks, is really the only thing in this whole sector right here that's on this side of the river or whatever that is, that body of water. So all I'm saying is just try to find your landmarks. So when you get down behind that gun, number one, that gun should be facing exactly where you want to get behind it on, right? If you don't have binoculars, there'll be 5 pairs out here, right, at a match. So people do not mind you getting, I don't mind people getting behind my binoculars. They screw my focus up all the time, but it doesn't bother me, right? Just get behind a pair and make sure you know what you're supposed to be shooting at, right? The other thing is, remember what does our stage brief say? The 2 MOA targets, the square, the circle and the square. There are 4 targets on this plate rack, right? There's 4 targets at 750. Understand what a 2 MOA target looks like. If you understand MOA, what that's really talking about, roughly 1 inch at 100 yards. If these are 2 MOA targets at 750 yards, that means that those are what? 15-inch plates, right? So it's 15-inch circle and a 15-inch square. You're shooting the 2 MOAs, not the, I think those are probably 1 MOAs, the smaller ones, right? So you're shooting the 2 MOAs. Understand this. Make sure you understand what you're shooting at. Ask somebody. If you're not sure, ask. It's no problem to say, I'm not really sure what I'm shooting at. Just don't get up there, like I said earlier, and go, what am I shooting at out here? Because it's too late when you have the gun in your hand and they're getting ready to push the buzzer. You're too late to figure out what you're shooting at, especially in a stage like this where you have multiple targets. All right, step 5. You're probably either on deck or in the hole. So if you hear someone say, 4-gun guy is on deck or 4-gun guy is in the hole, that means you're the second to next guy to shoot. On deck, it means you're the next guy to shoot. If you are on deck, you should not be helping pick up brass, look through binoculars, spotting, scoring. You're getting your stuff ready, right? So this is what we need to do when we're on deck. We need to make sure, number one, if we have scope covers, they are off or up, right? We want to make sure our elevation is set correctly. I'm starting at 750. I need to set my elevation to 5.4. And I'm validating that this is at 5.4. Come on, baby. 5.4. There you go. This is a Vortex Razor Gen 2. I can push this down and lock this turret. Do not do that because you're going to be adjusting for your elevation during this stage. This has multiple targets. Unless you're going to hold elevation, then I guess you could. Windage, I do not dial wind. If you want to dial wind, knock yourself out. I hold wind, and most guys do. If it's a stage that's, hey, this target is here, it's 500 yards, and your Kestrel is telling you it's a 0.3 left, I may dial 0.3, right? I may, but generally I'll hold. Let's see. We've got the windage set correctly. You understand, by the way, that at 750, it's 0.8 left, right? So just because you're not dialing wind doesn't mean you don't remember what your first windage is. It's 0.8 left. Make sure your parallax on your scope is set correctly. We're starting out at about 750. This goes up to infinity, so it'll be somewhere near infinity. Make sure your focus is set correctly. Now, the focus should be set if you did your pre-match, setup and looked through it and everything like that. My focus is always pretty much set. Make sure the magnification is set correctly. Right now I have this on 27 magnification. If I left it on there, I would be dead when I hit the ground over here trying to find a target. Let's zoom out to about 12 for now. When we hit the ground, we can acquire our target, zoom in a little bit, and then go from there. Right? So make sure our focus or magnification. Make sure we have the right bags we're going to use. I'm only going to use this WeBad, this Whiskey Charlie bag. That's what I use in a prone position. It works well. Make sure that the bipod, your bipod is set correctly. Now here it's set pretty much where I need it set for this prone position. But if I was shooting off a barricade, I'd want to take this off just before the stage starts. Or if I was shooting off these pipes over here, I think I have a video of me shooting off those. I have a specific place on this rail. This bipod needs to be adjusted, and the length of the legs. So setting up your scope, the bags, and the gun to get ready for the stage, that's step 5. Okay, it's just before the buzzer, right? They've called your name, you're standing there. Here's what you should have. You should have your mag ready, your bag ready, and your gun ready, right? They will either say load and make ready, so it's kind of like 3-gun. They may not say it at all, right? They may just expect you to have the mag and the rifle and things ready to go. So I'm going to make sure my chamber flag is out. I'm going to insert my magazine. I'm pointing downrange. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to start a round. Let me show you what that looks like. I'll come over here, try to get real close here. I don't know if you can see that or not. See if you can. I'm going to just start a round. 1/4 of an inch, that's it. 1/4 of an inch, okay? You do that so the gun won't jam when you get down on it. You're gonna have your gun in one hand, your bag in the other hand. Your bag should be ready however you're gonna use it. If you're on a barricade, that bag should be wide open. For something like this, I'm just gonna have it probably kind of closed in my hand. I'm going to have my glasses off and my shooting glasses on. Right now, where am I looking? Where am I looking? I'm looking for the red sign down there, and I see it, and then the buzzer is going to go off. He's going to say stand by, buzz. When the buzzer goes off, I'm going to throw my bag down. I'm going to bring my gun towards. Look at what I'm doing. I'm looking at the target as I set my gun down. I'm making sure this rifle is lined up. I'm coming down behind the gun. I'm still looking at the target. I am looking at the target. I'm looking at the target. My scope is zoomed out where it should be. I check my dope one more time. 0.8 left is what this thing is saying I should be. I'm going to chamber around. I'm 0.8. And that was an impact. Awesome, right? Now, I'm going to keep firing at these targets. I'm going to bring back the bolt. And now I have to move to the 850. To move to the 850, I'm looking at my dope. I'm coming up and dialing 6.5. I read the windage. I get behind my gun. I do not chamber around until I am on the target. That's the key. That's the key here, folks. Can't chamber around till you're on the target. I'm on the target. I'm chambering around. This says 0.9. That was a miss. I don't know where that went. but that's okay. I'm not here to hit today. I'm going to do the 850 and the 1. Then I'm going to go to the 950. So at 950, so you can do this one of two ways. I can either come over here and find the target first, then I can do my dope. The thing I don't like about that is you're going to get excited and you're going to say, and you're going to forget to dial your dope. At the last match, there were about 4 guys who forgot to dial their dope. I'm now at 950 that says 1.1. That was an impact. Okay, all I wanted to show you here was a couple things. Number one, again, I go over this in my bag video, but notice that I'm using this hand to squeeze this bag to give me elevation, or I can just push it back down, right? Now, I'm making sure the gun is level, elevation, and then what I want you to do is watch, after I shoot, watch my trigger finger. Pay attention to my trigger finger. That was an impact. I am still holding that trigger back, okay? Get in that habit. Hold it back for a split second, a second even, because that just gives you, I don't know how to explain it. It gives you confidence that you're pulling everything back into you and you're not flipping, right? You're not flipping the trigger. And then of course, when you, now I'm doing this now because to save my brass, but in competition, you'll just rack the bolt and fire another round. But the point is, when you pull that trigger, just make sure, and look, it's the tip of my finger. I'm not doing this on this trigger. It's the tip of my finger on this trigger. And I'm just pulling back, right? So that's that. Another thing that I wanted to mention was breathing. So just before the buzzer goes off, 3 deep breaths, okay? When you're firing, when you're behind this gun, as I'm bringing this up onto the target, right? Number one, I'm looking up. If you see me looking up right now, I'm actually looking at my bubble level to make sure the gun's level. Then I'm on the target. Then I'm breathing in as I rack the round. I breathe out as I release. That was an impact. So the point is, get your breathing down, get all these little things down. Okay, so here we are. We're going to shoot at the, there's an X out there at 470 yards. And in this one, we're going to look at movement, right? How to move when you're shooting. So the buzzer goes off. We come down into our stands, down on the gun, find the target. That's an impact. Now we're moving, which means I'm grabbing the gun, bringing it up. I've already decided where here I'm going to place the bag. If you watched my bag video, I'm going to place the bag where I can still kneel, and this rock isn't going to get in my way of the target. So I'm going to come back down, right? Notice that when I moved, the bolt was open, right? I'm down on the target, and because I'm aiming the gun at it all the time, I'm right on it, coming in, exhaling, and that's an impact. So back, up, and that's it. That's the movement. Had I had movement plus target adjustment, another target, then I would have set, I would have looked at my dope, I would have dialed my dope, right? Then I would have got behind the gun, then I rack around. Please remember, you don't rack around until you are on the target through your scope. If you do something like this, if you move from here to here, you come down and you do this, you're probably going to get a warning. Okay? You're probably going to get a warning. If you keep doing it, someone may say, look, you've got to learn that you're only racking around when you're on the target. So that's the movement piece of this. And I just fired my last shot. My last shot, the bolt is open, the mag is out. I stay on the gun. Don't start reaching for brass. Someone else is going to get your brass for you, right? What you want to do is get that mag out, get that bolt back, and then as you come up out of it, you're going to say, bolt is back, mag is out. Okay? Now, you may have your chamber flag ready. If you do, that's great. Let's put it in there. You're going to grab your magazine. I'll put it in my pocket. I'm going to grab my rifle, my bag, get up, the muzzle facing down range, and then I'm going to go over to the staging area. I'm going to place my gun down, and I'm done. Someone else is going to go ahead and grab my brass for me. If you want to save your brass, mark your brass. It will make things go much smoother for everyone involved, right? You can tell them it's the red striped brass. Then they just have to look for that and pick it up. So now we're done with the stage, and we have to think about things. Well, you just shot your first stage, so you got through it. That's great. So now what we want to do is we want to log our score. So we've got our match sheet here. We're going to log how many hits we had at each stage. And then we're going to sit back a little bit and assess our performance, right? How did we do? Were we ready? Were we prepped properly? Was everything that we said we were going to do done, right? Did we have the right dope? Well, how was that wind? Was it off a little bit like the previous squad said, or was it pretty much what our device said, or we heard from other people? We want to mark that stuff down too, right? Wind was a little heavier than I thought, blah, 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 blah. So we're at that stage, we're really assessing our dope and our wind calls. We want to build on the good things that we did. Sometimes you'll miss a 650-yard target, but you'll hit 3 out of 4 950-yard targets. That's good, right? Even if you got only 4 out of 10 shots on that stage, if you hit those longer range targets, you were doing something good. Maybe you were nervous in the beginning and that's why you missed those closer in targets. But really think about the good. Hey, I remembered to flip up my my scope covers, right? I've done that so many times, that's why I don't even keep them on anymore. I just have them off. You know, I remembered this, I remembered that. I started my round so my gun didn't jam when I hit the ground. I did a lot of good things right. And then just make sure that you're repeating the process for the next stage. Remember a couple things. I write every stage dope down on this card. I don't care if it's one target at 400 yards and you could almost close your eyes and hit it, but you can't because for some reason you miss more 400 yards than you miss 800 yards. But just get in the habit, right? Get in that repeatable consistency that I always talk about. One stage, one target, I write it down, okay? I think I said this in one of my other videos, but I'll give you a great example of that. Guy gets to a stage, starts shooting, man, he is way low. I mean, way low. We are all telling him, we don't know what you're doing, but you're way low. 3 shots into a 10-shot stage, say that 3 times fast, he realizes he took his dope, he just didn't dial it in. Guess what he didn't do? He didn't write it down anywhere. What did he have to do? He had his Kestrel in his pocket. So he had to get his Kestrel out of his pocket, look at it, then dial it. Had he just taken the time to write the one stage, one target down on his card, all he would have had to do is go, crap, I forgot to dial. Bam, dial, shoot. That would have saved him about 20 seconds, and he didn't get through the whole stage. So little things like that, stay consistent, and it will help you in the long run. Well, I hope this video was helpful for a lot of you who do this all the time. I know you're probably sitting there going, yeah, we already know how to do all that stuff. But for you guys wanting to get into PRS and, you know, wanting to kind of show up and understand the process and, you know, look like you know what you're doing, that's what I wanted to do when I first started. I hope this was helpful. So let's just go over what we did real quick. Prepping for the first or next stage, we looked at that. Environmentals at the stage, review the stage brief. I can't tell you that one enough. View the targets and landmarks. Make sure you got your landmarks for your targets. Make sure your scope, the bags, everything is set on your rifle, ready to go. Before and at the buzzer. So remember, before the buzzer, we started that round just a little bit. We took 3 deep breaths. At the buzzer, we move slowly into smoothly into position. We're breathing right. We're taking our time. We're acquiring the target because we have our magnification set properly. So we didn't magnify in at 27 power going, where the heck is everything, right? In the one setup, we looked at just the prone where we were adjusting our dope, and the other we did look at movement through the stage. So just make sure your muzzle's pointed downrange, you have everything you need with you as you move. That bolt is open, or if you're running a gas gun, you're on safe. And really it's just watch that muzzle. And always make sure that as you move, that gun is pointing at the target or the next target, right? So when you get down there, you're right behind it. And then after the last shot, calm down, bolt open, mag out, say those words. My bolt is open, my mag is out. It just gives people, it puts people at ease that you know what you're doing and that the environment is safe. Make sure you grab your bag, all your equipment, move off to the side quickly. Someone else will pick up your brass, so that's all good. And then lastly, we reviewed our performance, right? What did we do good? What did we do not so good? What do we need to maybe improve on next time we come out to the range? Again, I hope this was helpful, and I really enjoyed making this one. It's something that you think about, you just do when you get to the matches, but there's a lot that goes into this. And I hope to see you out here at a PRS match in Central Texas. Until then, shoot straight.